I knew something was screwed up. The second Brooke Pierce walked into that conference room, wearing designer sneakers and that smug little grin like she'd just figured out how to cure cancer. The name's Andrew Walsh, by the way. I'm 48, been keeping this place running for 12 years now. We were barely 5 minutes in before she clicked to her fancy presentation and just dropped it on us. Effective immediately, I'll be assuming full executive control of Pierce Manufacturing Solutions. No thank you to her old man Howard. No mention of the crews who built this company from a couple of rented warehouses and equipment that should have been scrapped years ago. Just that little sparkle in her eye like she'd been waiting her whole life to play boss lady in front of all of us. Then she turned to me without even blinking and said, Andrew will be transitioning to document processing and compliance oversight, or if he prefers, he's free to explore other opportunities. That room went dead quiet. You could have heard a wrench drop on concrete. My mouth stayed shut. I didn't move a muscle. I just stared at that shiny conference table while every guy in there suddenly found their shoes real interesting. Howard didn't say squat. Not a word, not even a look my way, just sat there with his jaw tight while his little princess ran the show. Before we go any deeper, if you're still watching, hit that like button and subscribe. Most people don't, but it really helps us keep these stories coming. Thanks. So back to Brooke. Her voice had that fake sweet tone, but I could hear what was really there. Pure power trip. I'd spent 12 years keeping the machines running, the schedules tight, the safety record clean. Started on the shop floor, worked my way up, knew every bolt and bearing in our operation. And now this kid was offering me a desk job and a filing cabinet, like I was some temp they picked up from an agency. Hell, this woman couldn't find our maintenance logs if someone tattooed the location on her forehead. But sure, let's move the guy who wrote half our safety protocols to pushing paper. The thing is, I saw this coming. Maybe not this exact meeting, but the writing was on the wall since Brooke parked her Tesla in the exec lot and started throwing around phrases like operational dead weight and efficiency optimization, like they meant something. She brought in her MBA buddies to audit processes they'd never seen before. One of them actually tried to explain shift rotations to me for crews who'd been running these machines since before she was born. They swapped out our rugged field tablets, ones I'd set up so guys could use them with work gloves with some flashy apps that crashed if you looked at them wrong. I rolled with it. I always rolled with it. Never made waves, never caused drama. I stayed late when equipment broke down, covered when other supervisors called in sick, caught problems before they turned into shutdowns. I even fixed half of Brooke's digital transformation disaster when she launched a system with the wrong part numbers for our entire inventory database. Never took credit for cleaning up her messes, never threw anybody under the bus. But now I was getting steamrolled by the Brooke Express, and she didn't even slow down to check the damage. I didn't ask questions, didn't argue. I stood up, straightened my shirt, looked Howard dead in the eye, and he looked away like a damn coward and said, I'll clean out my desk. That was it. No yelling, no door slamming. I caught Brooke's eyebrows twitch a little, probably ticked off I didn't break down or make a scene she could tell her friends about later. I think she wanted to watch me fall apart right there in front of everyone, but that's not how I'm built. I walked out of that room, boots echoing down the hallway I helped design when we expanded 4 years back. Yeah, that stung a little. Back at my desk, someone had already loosened my nameplate. That really got to me. I packed up quiet. My wireless mouse, backup drives, the coffee mug my wife got me for Father's Day. Didn't touch one thing that belonged to the company. But before I walked out, I did something else. I sat down, opened a folder I kept labeled Policy Escalation Legal, wrote up a letter, attached 6 documents, embedded some time-stamped logs, and cross-referenced Brooke's little speech with a very specific clause buried in my contract from 3 years back. Then I printed that letter, slid it into a clean envelope, and tucked it into the top drawer of Brooke's desk, right under her stress ball shaped like a graduation cap. And just before midnight, I logged into HR and deactivated my own access using the same checklist I'd written for the company. Clean by the book, no way to undo it. It all started weeks before with meetings I wasn't invited to, new group chats without my name on them. Then came the sudden reorganizations that looked more like hit lists dressed up in corporate BS. Brooke was doing what rich kids do best, clearing out anyone who reminded her she didn't build any of this herself. First, they pushed out Ryan Murphy from logistics. 25 years of knowing where every part came from, suddenly choosing early retirement. Then Sarah Coleman from compliance got moved to some made-up documentation insights job, which was just a nice way of firing someone by spreadsheet. I wasn't stupid. I'd been around long enough to spot a takeover even when it wore expensive clothes and talked about workforce optimization. Part of me thought maybe Howard would grow a backbone and rein in his daughter before she burned the whole place down. Then I got the call. "We need you in Pittsburgh for a senior leadership meeting," Howard's assistant said. No emotion, no urgency, but it felt like a funeral invitation. I booked the flight, packed light, told my wife I'd be back Thursday, unless I came back looking for a new job. We met in that glass conference room on the 3rd floor, the one with the big round table Howard bought years ago. No corners, no politics. "We're all equal here," he used to say. What a joke. Brooke strolled in 15 minutes late wearing some cream-colored jacket that probably cost more than most guys make in a month. She had that same satisfied look like she'd just closed some $1 million deal instead of coming from a budget meeting about toilet paper orders. She tapped the big screen, pulled up a presentation called Pierce Manufacturing 2.0, Leadership Evolution, and flashed that practice smile they probably teach in business school. Howard sat next to her looking smaller somehow, like a guy watching his life's work get chopped up and sold for parts. Brooke clicked through buzzwords for 10 minutes. Agility, innovative momentum, generational transition, all that garbage that sounds important but means nothing. Then she dropped the hammer. "My father is stepping back from daily operations. Starting right now, I'm taking full control of Pierce Manufacturing Solutions." No applause, not even a cough. She looked around like she was waiting for a standing ovation, then locked her eyes on me. "Andrew will be moving to document processing and systems oversight," she said like she was reading off her grocery list. "Or if he'd rather, we can work out a separation package." That's what really got me. Not getting demoted, not the total lack of respect, but that if he'd rather part, like I was being offered choices at a restaurant instead of getting kicked to the curb with fancy wrapping paper. Nobody said a damn word. Nobody even looked my way. I could feel my neck getting hot, but I kept it together. I wasn't about to give this kid the satisfaction of seeing me lose it. Howard wouldn't meet my eyes, not once, which told me everything I needed to know. I'd done every job this company ever threw at me. Worked weekends when the main press broke down, slept on the office couch during that supply chain mess 2 years back, stood between screaming union reps and panicking investors more times than I could count. And now I was just another line item, under organizational improvements. I nodded once, slow and deliberate. Then I stood up and walked out. Didn't say a word to Brooke, Howard, or anybody else, because talking would have just watered down what was coming next. The building was practically empty when I got back to my office. You could hear the air compressors cycling on the main floor, that steady thump-thump that meant the overnight crew was prepping for the morning shift. Most of the office folks were home eating dinner or pretending their jobs mattered. I took the stairs instead of the elevator, didn't want to run into anyone who might try to offer sympathy I didn't need. My office still had Andrew Walsh, operations director, on the door in those stick-on letters that were starting to peel. I stared at it for a minute like it belonged to somebody else. Then I went inside and got down to business. No drama, no tears, just getting it done right. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out my mouse, backup drives, and that wooden pen holder my son made in shop class when he was 12. Left behind the company laptop, the work phone, even my security badge. I'd already wiped my access from the system 2 weeks earlier, call it a gut feeling or just experience from watching other guys disappear overnight when the wind changed direction. Then I did what I do best. I documented everything like a damn surgeon. I pulled up our asset transition rules, the same ones I'd written after the last round of layoffs. I logged out of every account using a clean digital trail. No leftover sessions, no cached passwords, no breadcrumbs. I closed every browser tab, every cloud connection, every linked calendar, like I was erasing myself completely. And then I wrote the letter. Not some angry resignation rant full of hurt feelings and LinkedIn inspirational quotes. This was a legal notice addressed to the Pierce Manufacturing Board of Directors, copied to company lawyers, outside counsel, and quietly sent to a regulatory guy whose name wouldn't ring any bells until it was too late to matter. The language was precise as a micrometer reading. I listed exactly when Brooke made her announcement, quoted her exact words, pulled up my performance reviews from the system, all of them marked exceeds expectations. I attached a transcript of the whole meeting, recorded by the conference room system I'd personally installed 4 years back to avoid any he said she said nonsense down the road. Then came the good part. Section 8.3b of my updated contract, quietly negotiated during that equipment financing mess back in 2021, a clause nobody remembered but me. If my job got materially changed without written justification and documented performance problems, I could claim constructive dismissal, which meant triple severance, immediate vesting of all my deferred compensation, and a penalty the company had to pay whether I signed their gag order or not. I signed it, scanned it, saved a digital copy in the company archive under Policy Escalation Executive with my initials and a timestamp. Then I printed one clean copy, folded it neat, slipped it into an envelope, and walked down to Brooke's corner office, used to be Sarah's before she got repositioned out the door. Her desk drawer was unlocked because she was always going on about trust culture and open communication. I slipped that envelope right under her keyboard, next to a sticky note where she'd written "Ask Andy about Q4 targets," closed the drawer, turned off the lights, and walked out of that building for the last time. No goodbye emails, no motivational quotes, no awkward handshakes with people pretending they'd miss me. I didn't want their pity, didn't want their regrets. I wanted them to underestimate me one last time, and they did exactly that. The first buzz jolted me out of the kind of sleep you only get after a war ends. My phone was face down on the nightstand, lighting up like it had breaking news. I let it ring at 9:04. It was Brooke. At 9:07, some Slack notification got forwarded to my personal email. By 9:11, that executive assistant was still trying to put me on some Q4 planning meeting like nothing had happened. By 9:26, Brooke's voicemail came through, sounding like she was about to have a panic attack. "Where the hell are you? We've got questions about the quarterly projections. Legal says they need your efficiency analysis. Can you please just call me back?" I made coffee instead. What Brooke didn't know, because she never read anything that didn't have bullet points and pretty charts, was that I'd taken myself completely offline hours earlier. At exactly 12:01 a.m., I'd killed my own access using the same self-checkout process I'd built during our last security audit. The same checklist they still used for new hires. Yeah, the irony hit me pretty hard. I didn't just log out, I vanished. My access codes died automatically. My shared folders locked down tight. Every cost sheet, every efficiency model, every quarterly breakdown Brooke needed was now flagged with digital locks that needed admin approval to open. Admins who had no idea I'd built in fail-safes that would ping the audit team if anyone tried to mess with my files after I left. Meanwhile, that letter was doing its work, while Brooke was digging through my folders like a kid looking for Christmas presents. The board's compensation committee was reading my little gift with their morning coffee. It landed at exactly 8:09 a.m. Subject line, notice of constructive dismissal minus section 8.3b activated. I'd attached everything they needed to hang themselves. 3 years of performance reviews showing I'd exceeded every target they gave me. Documentation of every process improvement I'd implemented. Every cost-saving measure, every safety protocol I'd written. Brooke's exact words from that meeting, captured crystal clear by those conference room mics I'd installed to stop all the backstabbing and finger-pointing that used to happen after every senior staff meeting. I copied the company lawyers. I copied internal audit. I copied the compensation committee chair who I'd helped out of a vendor dispute 2 years back that saved her department $50 grand. I also sent copies to 2 outside addresses, the Department of Labor guys who handle workplace complaints, and an industry watchdog group that Brooke had tried to impress at some conference last year. Bad move trying to network with people you never bothered to research. By 10 a.m., they weren't wondering where I was anymore. They were figuring out just how badly they'd screwed up. I sat there drinking my coffee, watching the sun come through the kitchen window. No stress, no second thoughts. They figured I'd slink away quiet, maybe grumble to my wife for a few weeks, and then fade into whatever retirement guys like me are supposed to accept. But I wasn't roadkill. I was the guy who'd been building this trap for 3 years, just waiting for someone stupid enough to step in it. See, Brooke never bothered reading contracts, not the real ones anyway. She skimmed executive summaries, had lawyers print out the important parts on fancy paper with little arrows showing her where to sign. She treated legal stuff like a suggestion box. Take what looked good. Ignore the details. Call the PR team if anything bit back later. But I read everything. Every paragraph, every amendment, every footnote buried in the small print, especially the one I'd slipped into my employment agreement during that equipment financing chaos back in 2021. While the company was scrambling to get loans for new machinery, I was quietly negotiating my insurance policy in language so boring nobody would ever bother reading it twice. Section 8.3b, I can still recite it word for word. If the employee's core responsibilities are materially reduced, reassigned, or eliminated without documented cause or formal performance improvement plan within 15 business days of reassignment, such action shall constitute constructive dismissal under state labor law. Sounds like legal wallpaper until someone uses it as a crowbar. And Brooke had just walked face first into it. No documentation, no performance plan, just a public humiliation in front of the whole leadership team, followed by a room full of cowards who let it happen. The email showed up at 2:17 p.m. Subject line, Constructive dismissal, section 8.3b. I opened it with the same calm I'd kept through every meeting where some kid half my age tried to explain my own job back to me. We have reviewed Mr. Walsh's documentation and supporting evidence. Based on the timeline and language used in the reassignment, the triggering conditions under Section 8.3b have been confirmed. Settlement will proceed according to contractual terms. There it was, clean as a machine shop measurement. No apology, no attempt to justify what Brooke had done, just confirmation that I'd set the trap perfectly and they'd stepped right into it. I forwarded the message to my lawyer with one line, game time. The settlement offer hit my inbox the next morning. Severance at 2.5 times my base pay. All my deferred stock compensation vested immediately. A nice chunk for legal fees. And buried near the end, like they hoped I wouldn't notice, was a non-disclosure agreement about protecting company reputation and mutual confidentiality. I deleted that whole section before sending back my signed copy. If they wanted to buy my silence, they could try doing it in court. But I knew they wouldn't risk that, because fighting meant discovery. Discovery meant digging into everything Brooke had touched since taking over. Every questionable hire, every budget cut with no documentation, every veteran employee who'd suddenly decided to pursue other opportunities. They didn't want a spotlight. They wanted this whole thing to disappear. So they paid up $312,500 total, cleared my account within 48 hours. Enough to pay off the house and get my son through his last 2 years of college without touching my retirement savings. 3 weeks later, the quarterly filing dropped on a Tuesday. Most people skip right over those things, just pages of numbers and corporate lawyer language designed for investors who only care if the stock price goes up or down. But I still had alerts set up for Pierce Manufacturing's SEC reports. Old habits die hard. The line was buried on page 12. Sandwiched between executive pay adjustments and equipment write-offs, under a boring heading that said unusual compensation events. Separation benefits paid under constructive dismissal classification section 8.3b due to role reassignment without performance documentation. Dry as sawdust, but it hit like a sledgehammer. That one sentence said more than any press release could. It said, I didn't just walk away, I made them pay for it. It said their optimization came with a price tag they hadn't budgeted for. It said Brooke's little power play wasn't just bad management. It was a legal screw-up with a 6-figure receipt attached. My phone buzzed with a text from Ryan Murphy. Just saw the quarterly report. That one line cost them over $300K. You should have seen Brooke's face in Monday's all-hands meeting. I didn't text back because I wasn't in that meeting, wasn't in the office. Wasn't reading their damage control memos or watching Howard try to patch up the mess his daughter made. I was done with all that. Not hiding, not bitter, just finished. While Brooke probably figured my silence meant I'd given up, what she'll never get is that some wins don't come with brass bands and victory parades. Some of them are just one line in a government filing, quiet, precise, permanent. You know what really gets me? The whole thing could have been avoided if anyone in that room had grown a spine. If Howard had said, hold on, let's talk about this properly. If one of those other managers had spoken up and said, wait, Andy's been keeping this place running for over a decade. Hell, if Brooke had just pulled me aside later and said, look, I need to make some changes, but I value what you bring to the table. But that's not how entitled people work. They don't see experience as valuable. They see it as expensive. They don't want institutional knowledge. They want a clean slate they can take credit for building. They look at guys like me and see dead weight instead of the foundation that's been holding everything up. I spent 12 years learning every bolt and bracket in that operation. Started as a floor supervisor when the main assembly line was held together with duct tape and prayers. Worked my way up by showing up early, staying late, and giving a damn about getting things right. I knew which machines ran hot, which suppliers cut corners, which safety protocols actually mattered versus the ones that just looked good on paper. But to Brooke, all that was just legacy thinking that needed to be disrupted. She wanted to bring in fresh blood, new ideas, innovative approaches. What she got was a $312,512 lesson in why you don't mess with people who know where all the bodies are buried. The funny part is, I would have been happy to work with her. I could have taught her the business, shown her how things really worked, helped her avoid the expensive mistakes that look smart in a PowerPoint but fall apart on the factory floor. I've broken in plenty of young hotshots over the years. Some of them turned out pretty good once they learned to listen, but she didn't want a teacher. She wanted applause. She wanted everyone to see her taking charge, making tough decisions, showing who was boss. And the easiest way to do that was to knock down the old guard and bring in her own people. Well, she got her moment. Hope it was worth $312,500. My wife asked me the other day if I regret how it all went down. If I wish I'd handled it different, maybe tried to work things out instead of going nuclear with the legal stuff. I told her the truth, I don't regret a damn thing. Sometimes you've got to show people there are consequences for treating folks like garbage. The money's nice. Don't get me wrong. Paid off the mortgage, set aside college money for my son's last couple years. Even started looking at that fishing boat I've been wanting since forever. But the real satisfaction isn't the cash. It's knowing I didn't just roll over and take it. For 12 years I played by their rules. Kept my head down, did the work, didn't rock the boat. And where did it get me? A 5-minute meeting and a cardboard box. Well, turns out I knew their rules better than they did. And sometimes the best way to win the game is to use their own playbook against them. They thought they were cutting dead weight. What they really did was sever a main artery. And by the time they figured out what they'd lost, I was already gone with their money in my pocket. And their apology in black and white on a government document that'll be on file for the next 50 years. Pierce Manufacturing is still running, as far as I know. Brooke's still in charge, Howard's still letting her call the shots, and they're all still pretending that fresh MBA thinking can replace decades of hands-on experience. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. Maybe their fancy new systems and innovative approaches will take them to the next level, but I wouldn't bet on it. Because when you throw away the people who actually know how to keep the lights on, eventually those lights go out. And when they do, there won't be anyone left who remembers where the fuse box is. They wanted paperwork. I gave them paperwork, wrapped up in their own procedures, stamped with their own policies, and loaded like a round in a chamber they never thought to check by the book. Sometimes the quiet guy who knows every bolt and blueprint in the building is worth more than all the MBAs and PowerPoints combined, and the smart money learns that lesson before it cost them 6 figures. They thought experience was dead weight they could toss aside, but turned out I was the load-bearing wall, and when you remove those without checking the blueprints first, the whole damn structure comes down.